Cool.
From the mean streets of Essex, England, broadcasting around the world, this is Whatcast.
Hello, this is Whatcast. I am Matt, and I'm here today with Will Duffy, who is the brains and the cash behind the final experiment, the flat Earth final. Do you call it the flat Earth final experiment, or just like how do people know what it is by calling it the final experiment?
Yeah, I just call it the final experiment, and that name came from my idea to figure out something that we could do to convince everyone on both sides of the shape of the Earth debate, the flat Earth side and the globe side, to convince them all one way or the other. So that's what I'm going for, the final experiment, to finally tell us whether we live on a globe or whether we live on a flat Earth, and hopefully have everyone agree after the fact.
Good luck with that.
I'll need it.
I don't see that happening, but it's a great idea. But people are so married to their ideas, aren't they? I'll read out some of the feedback I've got from the videos that I posted to tell you what I'm talking about as the show goes on. But first of all, like how did you even become? Because I've watched you on a few things, and you definitely don't come across like your standard like MC Toon, Fight the Flat Earth, these sort of people that's what they do. And on TikTok there are people that will literally sit in lives all day debating flat earthers, like 24/7. I don't know what these people do for money, but they sit there having the same conversations all day. It's so weird to me. But you definitely don't come across like that. So what motivated you to even get involved in this to begin with?
Yeah, my story is interesting. I didn't even know flat Earth was a thing. I had heard over the years, you hear about the Flat Earth Society, but it's always you're always thinking that that's like a joke. And I had a friend.
Don't they call that they don't like that, do they? Flat Earthers don't like the Flat Earth Society. They say that's a psyop.
They do. Yep, that's what they say. I don't know if it is, but maybe it is. But yeah, I had a friend, and she posted about Flat Earth on Facebook, caught my attention. I thought she must be joking, and before I put the laugh reaction on her post, I read through the comments, and she seemed very serious. She was defending it. Still didn't make sense to me, so I engaged her, and I was like, wow, she actually really believes this. So I was like, okay, well, how about I just convince her that we live on a globe? It should be easy. I'll change her mind. And it was not easy. She had prepared answers for the arguments I brought to her, and she gave me some things to think about. And that's the point, probably, if anybody ever goes down this similar path, where they'll decide to either just forget about it and move on, or to actually engage. And I decided to engage. So I listened to her. I heard her out. She sent me videos. I'd watch them. She sent me articles. I would read them. And then before you know it, you're deep in the rabbit hole of flat Earth. And that's where I found myself watching debates and crazy theories and all this interesting things. And I honestly, in hindsight, I'm glad I did this, because I really did. I learned a lot, right? Like I learned about Japanese geostationary weather satellites, the Himawari, just a lot of fun things about the size of the Earth and how fast it's rotating, and different things about the Apollo missions. So I really did. I just turned it into education for myself. And then people that know me know I like to come up with big ideas, really, really, really big ideas, things that would, change the world. And so I was like, hey, what if I could come up with something that would settle this debate, settle this flat Earth versus globe debate? And so I decided I was going to do that. I didn't have a name for it. I didn't know what it was going to be, but I said, there's got to be something that we can do which will just put this whole thing to bed. And I had a lot of ideas. None of them panned out. I'd think them through, and I'd come up with the flaws, or it was too expensive. And then I came up with this Antarctica idea. So this shape right here over my shoulder, that's the two different shapes of Antarctica in the flat Earth model versus the globe model. They're wildly
Did anybody in particular steer you in that direction? Did you consider other things first?
I considered other things. Yeah, I considered flights and space travel and all that kind of stuff, and none of it worked. And then the Antarctica thing was a common theme that would come up actually by flat earthers. So they would say, we want to go to Antarctica, but we can't, or Antarctica holds the key to the shape of the earth, but we can't get there to prove it. And then Dave Weiss, Flat Earth Dave, I heard him in an interview state that there cannot be a 24-hour sun in Antarctica on a flat earth.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's interesting. He's admitting something that the globe side says happens, this 24-hour sun in Antarctica. And he says that doesn't work on a flat earth. So I started looking into that and found guys like Anthony Powell, who had taken videos of the 24-hour sun in Antarctica. And I was like, okay, maybe this is the answer. But then the flat earth side is like, well, we think he edited the videos. We think he faked the videos, which I don't believe. And I just thought, okay, why don't we just go? Why don't we just go to Antarctica? And I thought it was going to be very difficult to get there, very difficult, but it's actually very easy. When you start researching tourist travel to Antarctica, you get well over a dozen companies that take tourists there every single year.
Did you start to research because a million flat earthers shouted at you, do your research, do your research? That's literally, they parrot that all the time. That's like their line. They say it all the time, but they never do. And that's why they wouldn't know you could go. Like, do you think any of them have ever tried to even go themselves, rather than just saying you can't go because that's like a get out of jail free card, isn't it? Like, you seem to have had no trouble finding a company that would accommodate you.
Yeah. It seems to me they actually haven't looked too hard into companies that go, because they say things that are not true. So just a couple of days ago, I'm not dogging on him, but there's a flat earth channel called Flat Earth and Coffee. And he released a video about the final experiment.
Yes, I watched it. You linked it, didn't you? I watched it. Yeah.
Yeah. It's actually a good video, but in it, he says we can't travel below 66 degrees south. And that's just not true. So our trip is going to be 80 degrees south. But you're right. There doesn't seem to be a lot of research into going to Antarctica from the flat earth side. And I found another video from Jaron Campanella on the channel Jaronism. He actually admits, which I love about him because he's so honest. He says in this video, he's like, look, guys, talking to his audience, look, guys, we've been going at this for 9 years and not one flat earther has ever been to Antarctica. And he's just like, isn't that a problem? Shouldn't we be going to Antarctica? And so that's how I came up with the idea. Now, some other ideas have happened in the past where people on the globe side, which is the side that I'm on, have suggested, flights and trips to the flat earth side, but they've told the flat earth side, you've got to pay for it, or you have to reimburse me if I'm right. And so all of those just fizzled out. And so I said, you know what, for the final experiment, I'm going to pay for one flat earther and one globe earther to go to Antarctica, to just take that off the table. We're not going to run into that issue. And so here we are.
Right. David Weiss, interestingly enough, he's been on here and a couple of years ago, and I've always credited him for being the person to make me convinced we're on a globe, which is ironic because that wasn't what he was trying to do. But how do I put this? Well, fuck it, I'll just put it. He was like, before we recorded, he was like asking me, please don't research this, because he wants to get these video clips where he's blowing people away with this knowledge. And I've never thought of that before, which is true. You haven't, as you said earlier on, like when you first hear this stuff, when you first hear flat earth, you think, what a load of shit, that cannot be true. And then you start to hear the evidence and you think, I've never thought about this. Like, this could be true. Like, you do. Like, if you don't know anything, and I don't, like, as you said, I've learned loads since I've been interested in this topic, loads of things that I didn't know. But you just get attacked for asking. And because it was quite a long time from him contacting me and him actually coming on, because someone had obviously heard me having a laugh about flat earth on the show, put Dave on there, that'll straighten him out. And it was quite a big gap. But when he come on, his inability to want to take any questions about any flat earth model, and his changing his mind mid-sentence, like he'd talk about Southern Flights, for instance, and I'd challenge him on it. And I actually went on and tried to book tickets for Southern Flights to prove there were direct flights, and he didn't think that I would have done any of this research, so he wasn't prepared for it at all. So he just changed the story 3 times in the conversation. And I'm just like, do you believe this? Like, and I wasn't sure that he did, but I've kind of changed my opinion over the last sort of 24 hours about a lot of these flat earth pushers, if you like, because listening to you, I watched John Jerry, and I was telling you before we come on yesterday, at least him and maybe Whitsitt, for people that don't know these people, these are prominent flat earthers. At least they're admitting that this would prove this experiment, or what, for want of a better word, everybody's telling me it's not an experiment, like some of that discredits it and all this crap they're coming out with. But at least they're admitting that it would disprove it. And as Jaron was saying to you, someone needs to have some balls here to do something to prove this position. And he's getting kickback from his own followers, calling him a shill, and like they don't. And I'm starting to think, I thought all of the followers were the innocent ones, and the ones that really did believe it, and the people pushing it were willfully lying. That's what I thought. And I think some of them possibly are, or at least swerving certain things. But I think a few of them do really believe it, and it's the followers that don't want to give up this feeling of being in with the special knowledge. Do you know what I mean? Like that, yeah. They literally, they cannot. Like I had a guy say to me, "Where's this little? Let's just tell you what I'm talking about here." It was there's a guy called Easy or something, and he always replies to my videos on TikTok. And he's wrote, "Well, looking at the sun won't prove curvature. I already know it's flat, so either way, it won't affect me." What do you mean? Like what? This nonsense. Like you're literally saying I'm not prepared to give up my position for. I've stated, like, I believe as a globe. I'm not a scientist. Nothing's made me see. The more I've looked into it, the more I've been convinced of that. I'll say that, right? But if you guys go down there and there's a sunset of any description for even an hour or so, then the model we're sold is wrong. And I'm happy to say that, and I'm happy to laugh at myself for thinking otherwise, but they're not. And it's, why wouldn't you be? Surely everyone wants to know the truth of, if there's all this deception going on, we want to know, right? Like what's and the way I've seen you yourself get discredited over this, like they're attacking your character to try and somehow water this down. Like you can't be trusted, therefore, like the sun will behave differently because you didn't admit that it was you that was behind it originally. You know what I mean? That's like their suggestion. It's so pathetic. You know what I mean? Like, what do you think about that?
Yeah, you're totally right. One of the cool things about the final experiment is I'm actually not asking anyone to trust me, right? The issue with the flat earthers that they have, which there's some validity to it, is so many people are like, hey, I work for NASA, trust me. I've been to space, trust me. I've been to the moon, trust me. And the flat earthers are like, no, we don't trust you. So the final experiment is like, listen, guys, I'm not asking you to trust anyone. I'm not even asking you to trust me. The final experiment is asking you to only trust one thing, which is reality. And we are going to discover what reality is. Let's trust the sun and what the sun does in Antarctica, because there's either a 24-hour sun or there's not. And whichever one there is will falsify one of these two models.
Yeah. Can you just explain exactly what you're going to go down there and do?
Yes. So here's the best way I can explain this. In the globe model, when you go north of the equator, the globe gets smaller. When you go south of the equator, the globe gets smaller. And so because of that, we should have something at the North Pole and the South Pole. They should mirror each other in terms of the sun's movement. And I know the sun doesn't move. I'm speaking about what we see. And so in the northern summer, which is right now, if you go far enough north, because of the tilt of the Earth, the sun doesn't set at the top of the Earth at the North Pole for an extended period of time. It's known as a 24-hour sun because the sun is up for all 24 hours. It's also known as a midnight sun. And if you were, hypothetically speaking, standing on the North Pole, the sun would just do a circle above your head all summer long. Now, in the southern summer, so this is when the Earth is then, now the north part of the globe is then tilted away from the sun. Now you're going to get the same thing at the bottom of the globe in Antarctica. So the southern summer is in December, which is when we're going to Antarctica. And if the globe model is true, you have to have a 24-hour sun there as well on both sides. And now on the flat Earth model, the sun's circuit makes circles around the flat Earth, and it gets tight in the summer right now. So it's over the North Pole. When we get to December, it's doing a very wide path around the edge of the flat Earth, which they believe is Antarctica. Again, looking back at this picture right here, that's flat Earth's Antarctica, is a circle around all of the continents, holding in all of the oceans on the Earth. And so because the sun is doing this wide path to cover the entire Earth around that outside edge, you can't have a sun that stays up for 24 hours wherever you happen to be in Antarctica. And so if we get to Antarctica and the sun is doing a 360-degree circle around our head every single day, just like it does in the North Pole, that is what the globe model says must happen. And that is something that cannot happen on the flat Earth model. So
did you know where it would be in the sky? It wouldn't be above your head, would it? Would it be more near the horizon?
It would be, it would definitely be near the horizon, and it would just circle the horizon around you the entire time.
Why do you think that this would convince these people? Do you care if it convinces these people, first of all?
I absolutely care. And it was the flat earthers that really are at the heart of this idea. Let me explain. You've got Dave Weiss, who said multiple times, there cannot be a 24-hour sun in Antarctica on our model. You've got, Austin Whitsitt has said some form of that. I went to a flat earth debate. There was a flat earth debate at the end of last year in Nashville, Tennessee. It was a coincidence. I was already in Nashville and I was like, I'm already here. I'm going to go to this debate. And the debate was between a flat earth pastor named Dean Odell and a globe pastor named Greg Locke.
I think I saw
and
that.
And I went there live to kind of see how this was going to go down. It was a bit of a dumpster fire, but in the debate, Dean Odell, who's on the flat earth side, here's what he said, almost verbatim. He said, this is easy to prove. He's talking to Greg Locke. He said, this is easy to prove. He said, how about you and I go to Antarctica for a week? And he said, if the sun does a 360-degree circle above our heads, we live on a ball. So this is a flat earther saying, if that's what happens, then you're right. And so it's this light bulb moment that I had. We have agreement here on both sides. Both sides agree. If we live on a globe, there's a 24-hour sun in Antarctica. And if we don't live on a globe, there's not a 24-hour sun in Antarctica. And I said, okay, this is it. Let's go there and let's settle this thing once and for all.
That's what's so brilliant about it, though. It's like that people say things like that and it's total grandstanding. And they don't believe that it's ever going to happen so they just say, let's just go. And I've always been confused, like, because Weiss has this Bitcoin challenge, right? It's just bullshit. But he has this challenge that he claims if there's one proof of the globe, I think it's 3 Bitcoin he's claiming that he'll give somebody, right? So you're going to hold him to that?
I think I might as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because they're so keen to call everybody liars. So, if he's got 3 Bitcoin, he could fund his own trip there.
Yeah, I was surprised he said no, because he's been the most outspoken about Antarctica. He has stated, and we put it in our videos, he has stated that he would be willing to fly to Antarctica with other globe people, including Neil deGrasse Tyson, including college professors. He said he'd be willing to fly to Antarctica in order to settle this debate in one day. And in fairness, he was talking about a different experiment, which has to do with 2 planes, but he said he would do it. And now that he had the opportunity to go and have all expenses paid, he said no. And so that was surprising to me. And I do think it says something about him and his motives.
Well, yeah. I mean, he can't deny that, can he? And I saw that when you were speaking to Jaron yesterday, his name's come up again there as potentially a second person. A question I've got for you is, this is weird to me that you would put up all of this money to out of curiosity almost. But what makes you think that they would accept this more? Like, because we already have the observation that disproves the flat Earth. Not in my opinion, it just does, unless you bring up this magic azimuthal grid of vision that they talk about, and that is the rotation of the celestial poles, where they're kind of different directions at different, and people they can't even grasp this. I literally had to sit on this chair and do the experiment to show someone with the ceiling and the floor, because people were telling me I was wrong, and I just had to show it. But it's observational. Everyone can see it. Anyone could go see it. Anyone could just set up a camera and see that. But yet they just dismiss it and say no. So if you even if you got a video, you do realize that within a day, everyone will be pretending there's cuts in the video. They will, won't they? Like, won't you feel like, shit, what a waste of time? Like, even if you prove it to yourself, but if you prove it to yourself, you could just go yourself. Like, if you're not going to convince them and they're not going to believe you anyway, and you're curious, why would you not just fund yourself to go and not bother with any of that?
Let me tell you why I'm so optimistic. Is I believe I found something that both sides have at least publicly stated they would change their mind over. That's important, right? We already know with both sides, there are things that will not change their mind. So for example, a picture from space of the Earth was not going to change a flat earther's mind. They've already said, we don't accept any pictures. We don't accept any eyewitness testimony. So that's just off the table, you know? And then I don't think the globe side is going to accept any laser tests over water. That's the big one that the flat earthers like to do. And so it's like, okay, those aren't going to work. I do believe I found something. Now, again, they could change their mind, but both sides have actually publicly stated that this would change their mind. So the flat earthers have said, if there's a 24-hour sun, I'm wrong. We live on a globe. They're on record saying that. We have that. And the globe side has said, if there's not a 24-hour sun, we're wrong and we don't live on a globe. Now, ever since I have come out with the final experiment and people are talking about it, one side, I'll give you a guess which side, is starting to walk back their claims. They're starting to backpedal. And again, this is what I appreciate about Jaron is he's like, hey guys, let's be honest here. We can't backpedal. We've got to stand true to what we've stated. And then Jaron's like, listen guys, if I'm wrong, if there's any flat earth model out there that can account for a 24-hour sun in the north and a 24-hour in the sun in the south, just show it to me. But the reality is there isn't. There is no model. And so we are going to Antarctica this December to falsify either the globe or flat earth, and one of them will be falsified.
But doesn't that show you something about the actual beliefs, though? Like, why would you feel the need to walk it back? If you're as convinced as people claim that they are, that these things need to be faked to be reality. This is what they say. There's no video. It needs to be faked. It's not reality. If you genuinely believe that, why do they feel the need to then change it to, like, the amount of messages I've got on the videos that I put up about this, just telling me that it doesn't prove anything. Prove the curvature first, not interested in the Antarctic. Like, it's just all different shit. Other stuff, they've been shown measurements, they've been shown everything, they accept none of it. And there's no way of proving it to them, is there? So this is, I understand where you're coming from. This is the definitive thing. And they're immediately saying this doesn't prove anything. And they do that famous thing of the lights in the sky don't prove the shape of the ground. They say the same, all parrot the same lines, unless they want to use them, and then they do. But I understand what you're going for, but it would be very difficult. Like, even with Jaron, as honest as he comes across, I do feel like he will have an answer for why it didn't happen within a week of it not happening. Do you know what I mean?
I do. Let me say this. I try to watch any YouTube video that mentions the final experiment. It's getting difficult. I don't know what this is. Maybe it's a good thing or maybe it's a coincidence, but on the flat earth side, they like to release 3 and 4 hour long videos. Yeah. And so I'm behind and I don't know if I'll be able to catch up, but you probably have made my favorite comment so far on the whole thing, which was in your last video, which was your second time mentioning the final experiment.
Yeah.
You made a brilliant point. You said, why are you guys making excuses before we've even gone to Antarctica? And that is the reality. If they actually believed the sun sets, there's no need to make an excuse.
No.
What I think it's showing is, I think in the back of their mind, they're like, oh boy, this 24-hour sun is probably real. And so they're getting defensive immediately. If they were confident in their position, they would say, great, let's do this experiment. Let's film the sun setting, and then let's expose the lie. That's what they'd be doing.
100%. But I've noticed that was coming out yesterday when you were chatting about, oh, they'll pump clouds into the sky at the right angles and stuff for where it sets. And I mean, the paranoia is unbelievable. I get, look, don't get me wrong, right? I totally understand distrust in government, distrust in things in the world. I do understand why you would be suspicious of things. I've been down a lot of these rabbit holes myself in my life. And you know, to be honest, flat Earth has kind of turned me off of conspiratorial thinking because of I saw the ridiculousness of the claims, in my opinion. I mean, if the sun sets, I'm wrong. I'll say that again. But to me, that has exposed a lot of the way that I used to think, including the moon landing and all sorts. I've done shows debunking the moon landing. I've done all these sort of things. But then I realized I hadn't actually looked at any of this stuff properly. I'd just taken things that I'd seen other people mention and not checked anything. And I think that is, everybody wants to feel like they're in on the truth. But if you want to feel like that, as you just said, why do you feel the need to make excuses and water something down that would totally make you right if it goes the way you think it's going to go? Like, that to me doesn't make any sense. And I will not do that. Like, obviously, Jerry made a great point as well about if there's a cloud. I mean, how are you gonna? How long are you there for? 5 days? 4 days?
5 days, 4 nights.
So 5 days, you need a clear day.
We'll get it. I'm very confident of that.
Yeah, because it's not just like if it's 24 hours, you'd be like, oh, you know. But if it's a clear day, that will be undeniable, won't it? If that sun, I mean, we know that sun's not going to set.
That's right.
Don't we? We know it won't.
I will say this, and some people might say this is arrogant of me, but I honestly believe I have created, personally, the greatest opportunity in the history of Flat Earth.
Yes.
This is the greatest opportunity that they've had, and it's like pulling teeth to get them to even talk about it.
They won't. They're just trashing you. Like, that is what they're doing. This is what's really winding me up about it. Because again, I'm not a Flat Earth channel. We do all different sorts of topics and stuff. It's just Flat Earth is something that if I go and do cardio, if I'm at the gym, I'll watch a Flat Earth debate. It makes me think about other things other than the gym and everything like that. I love watching these debates. They really interest me. It's got me very interested. And because I talk on it, then you get abuse. Like, similar to you when you talked about how you ever got into this discussion. We was doing all these topics on the podcast, and we had an alien abductee on. I mean, I don't know whether I believe any of that stuff. Bigfoot eyewitnesses, Loch Ness monster hunter. Anybody I wanted to talk to, I contacted them, and they was completely happy to talk to me. My co-host said to me, my mate's a flat earther. And I said, a what? And he's like, a flat earther. And I'm like, get him on. They won't come on. It's too triggering for him. And I'm like, what? So I thought I'll go online and find some then. So I found some flat earth groups on Facebook, etc. And I'll say, what? Would you want to come on a podcast? Oh, fuck off, globehead. And I'm just like, oh, God. What is the matter with these people? They're like, I can't even ask them, do you believe the earth is flat? Would you like to have a conversation about it? I didn't know anything about it. They would have destroyed me in a conversation if they had any knowledge on it whatsoever. I didn't know anything at all. So it inspired me, as you said, to look more into this, see if there's anything in it. And then I started going down the route of maybe there's something in this. I don't know. I'm fairly science illiterate. But then you start to see the people that aren't, and they debate these people, and it's embarrassing, honestly. And then I'm embarrassed that I was ever in any way seduced by the thought of it, even fleetingly. But go on.
There's a debate coming up, by the way, that you will probably be interested in watching. I haven't heard it advertised yet, which is interesting. But Professor Dave is going to be debating Austin Whitsitt in 9 days.
Wow.
On the 15th.
On whose channel?
I can't figure it out. It's Professor Austin, I don't think wanted Professor Dave to do it on his channel. Professor Dave didn't want to do it on Austin's channel. So there's some supposedly
I'll do it.
neutral.
I'll
Yeah,
do
I
it.
know,
Come
right?
here. I actually, when Professor Dave initially debated, did you see when he debated Flat Earth, Dave?
Oh yeah.
So I tried to set that up way before that because I knew Flat Earth Dave was coming on here, and I'd watched Professor Dave's debunks and stuff, and I thought they were funny. So I contacted Professor Dave and I said, look, I've got this guy, David Weiss, coming on the show. Would you like to come on and basically be funny, wouldn't it? Like if he turns up thinking it's me and Professor Dave, I just thought it'd be brilliant. And he said, I've never heard of him. Is this a new, flat earth god or whatever? I don't know who he is. And I'm just like, yeah. And he's just like, I don't really want to get involved. At the time, he was taking a break from flat earth. And then about 2 months later, someone was debating. I was like, what about my channel? You could have come on here and done it with something. But those moderators on there were awful. The debate that they did, I don't know what was going on there. They weren't getting involved. But I know Witsit, I'd heard, had been chasing Professor Dave for a debate. But it won't be like the Flat Earth Dave debate. It will definitely be more structured, I'd imagine. And Professor Dave won't be able to run away with it like he did with Flat Earth Dave and overtalk him and stuff. So it would be interesting.
Yeah, I will say this to give something to the Flat Earth side. YouTube does a very good job at censoring them. I learned this the hard way when I was creating the final experiment and trying to put together clips from both sides. If you search for a specific person on the Flat Earth side, a specific video on the Flat Earth side, you usually get Professor Dave.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, you do.
Anything you want to search for, YouTube shoves Professor Dave in your face. So that's good for Professor Dave. It's not good on the Flat Earth side. And I honestly think it's a mistake. I actually think YouTube is probably helping create new flat earthers and keeping flat earthers confident in their position because they're taking the position of if you're censoring it, it must be something you're trying to hide.
I've had this problem myself, and you get a little banner, don't you, underneath your videos? If you do Flat Earth, you get the fact check banner pops up, and all these sort of people, and that kind of turns people off. This is corrupt. This is definitely a conspiracy. If they're stopping this, but certain topics we've spoke about I'm sure that's why. They call it deprioritized in the algorithm. Like my podcast doesn't do well on YouTube at all. We've got thousands of listeners on audio. We don't get much views on YouTube unless we have big guests or whatever. But we used to. And then I did a 9/11 show, which wasn't about a conspiracy or anything like that. It was a guy that had researched 9/11 since 9/11. And he had all of the paperwork and everything. And he wasn't a conspiracy theorist. He had all these facts, and he was almost debunking the conspiracies that people were saying about it, or his opinion of it. And he got taken down, and I got struck. And I'm like, I couldn't have done more to debunk. If you don't want 9/11 on YouTube, this guy, Adam Fitzgerald, his name is. He's got a channel. He's a very interesting guy. And I just thought they're not checking anything. And I appealed it, and it came back. All right, and then I got struck again on the same videos. I had 2 strikes. I just thought, what are you doing? So I kind of try and steer away from things. But Flat Earth is hard to. I have got all the sympathy in the world for them to try and get any traction with Flat Earth on YouTube. TikTok, on the other hand, goes crazy on there. They absolutely love it. If I post anything about Flat Earth, it does thousands and thousands and thousands. Have you got a TikTok account? I think you have. I think I'm following you.
Yes. I don't understand TikTok, so it's not the best. I understand YouTube, and so our videos are, made for YouTube. But yeah, we do have a TikTok, so hopefully we'll find some people on there as well.
Yeah. No, that I think that would be a way to go to push this for you, because they automatically share it to a few hundred people, and the engagement you would get if you talk about Flat Earth, people will argue in the comment section. They do it for 2 weeks on my videos. They just go, it's the same old crap that they say to each other. I just don't get involved, but it keeps pushing the algorithm. So why would you, do you take it personally that people like Jeremy would say to you, if I won't go because I might die? Like, he's literally saying that you might murder him.
Yeah, it's bizarre. I don't understand it.
And you need someone with him to make sure he doesn't get murdered.
Yeah, there was a guy, I watched a video this morning, and a flat earther said in the video that he would never go to Antarctica for this reason. He said, because I enjoy breathing. So he's implying somebody would kill him. And he actually said he would turn down $1 billion with a B from Elon Musk to go visit Antarctica. I don't understand.
Elon, if you're out there, I'll go for $1 billion. So just to put it out there. But
The reality is this: if someone truly has a fear, that's fine. You don't have to go with us. Go to Antarctica on your own. Now that everybody knows you can do it, don't tell anybody who you are. Don't tell anybody what you're doing. Film the sun setting and then just put it on YouTube, and we'll all accept it. It's easy.
But it's kind of like what is. Again, I'll say I've mixed in these conspiracy circles. I've got lots of conspiratorial listeners to my show. But the paranoia is off the charts, isn't it? It's almost an arrogance to think. Like, let's be honest, no one knows who the fuck any of us are, do they? Like what good would it do killing these YouTube nobodies? It's not like you're sending a massive celebrity somewhere to prove something. He's going to expose it, and he's got this massive platform with billions of viewers, and it's someone with, I don't know, mate, what's Jaron got? 100 of, I don't know what his audience is. It's a big audience for this, but who do they think they are that they would need to be killed to keep this? That just made me laugh when he said it. I'm just like, I couldn't make out whether he was making an excuse or he's genuinely worried about that.
Yeah, I don't know. If they are worried, again, there's other ways around it. But again, I mean, worst case scenario, if we have 5 days of cloud cover, I will give a checkbox to the flat Earth side and say that's weird, because we were expecting very little clouds. If the plane has troubles and they're like, hey guys, we can't take off, we're canceling the trip, go home, that's a checkbox on the flat Earth side. I'm willing to grant that. But the reality is these trips happen multiple times a year. They're going to continue to happen. They've happened for over 30 years already. They're going to continue to happen for the next 30 years. So we just got to do it. We got to do it.
Yeah. Devil's advocate, though, a point that I think Jaron made with you. It is a bit strange that not many people try and record this. I know what the point that you made back was like, well, who's going there to look for that? They're going there to have an adventure. Like no one's these flat Earth isn't a big, it's not a big thing. It's still a massive minority in the world. Although I will say, globe people, you are liars when you say this is going away. This is growing massively. When globe people say, oh, it's almost extinct now, no, you haven't. You have not wiped this out at all. With TikTok and all these clips, I can't believe how many flat earthers there are in the world. But what was I saying before I went off on that? I can't remember.
That you thought it was strange that they're not recording the 24-hour sun.
Yes. So what do you think?
So first of all, I would challenge anybody to go record anything you want for 24 hours that's moving. You will probably not be able to do it. So it's very, very, very difficult. It's even harder in Antarctica because of the cold, because batteries die. And so, it's just not something that people want to do. And people have done it. They haven't done it from Union Glacier, but there are quite a few videos of the 24-hour sun in Antarctica on YouTube. Quite a few.
Have you seen debunkings of the? Because they were saying that they've all. Someone, I think it was Globy McGlobeface, who's crowdfunding, I believe, to go.
He is, yeah.
He posted one the other day of like it was in fast, but it was 5 days.
Yep. That's Robert Schwartz, and that was done at the South Pole. And the only debunk I've seen of that is Dave Weiss. And all he said
disregard that one then.
All he said was this is easy to fake. So that was his debunk. That's it. He said this is easy to fake. That's it.
I'll just be clear as well, because I know I'll get feedback saying this to me. I wanted to go through a few things with you to clarify this. Now, when I was talking to Weiss, he was trying to show me, it was on a video, but he was talking, all that stuff going on behind him, didn't he? He was trying to show me how the light patterns work with the dome and all this stuff. And he was demonstrating how there would be 24-hour light in Antarctica. So you're, just to clarify, so no one bothers me with it and pretends that you're not aware of this. You are very well. I've heard you say it, that it's the sun you're looking at, not the light.
Yes, they have a glass paperweight that if they shine a light into it, it wraps around the edge. And so that's their explanation for 24 hours of light. But this is a 24-hour sun. This is a sun that would go to the south of you in Antarctica when you're facing north. That does not work on the flat Earth model at all.
No. And I think it was in his debate with Professor Dave, I think Weiss said that the light doesn't come from the sun, in his opinion.
I'm not sure where it's coming from then, and I'm not sure why it disappears when the sun goes away.
I think Professor Dave challenged him on it, and his response was absolutely. That's what I'm like. He doubled down on it. I'm sure if I'm wrong, but I'm sure that was in that debate. And I just thought, what does he think it's coming from then? And everything for me comes up with almost like if you're a bit fuzzy with some of the things you say, you've got a ready-made excuse for things that can be discovered. And this is why they never, most of the big flat earthers, they never back a model anymore, do they? They used to have the Gleason's map with the dome. And now they say, not my map, not my model. And it's to make it, because then you can't falsify anything they say. That's really cowardly, in my opinion. Like, come up with something that works.
Yeah, it is. And again, props to Jaron. Yesterday in our interview, he said, you guys, if I'm missing a model out there that I don't know of, that where you can have a 24-hour sun in Antarctica, show it to me, but I don't know of one. And I don't think there is one, and I don't think anybody's going to be able to come up with one. And I'll just put this out there. If they come up with a model where a 24-hour sun happens in Antarctica, then that's probably going to eliminate the 24-hour sun in the north. And so they've already agreed it's in the north. We have videos of it in the north. So I think they're going to have a difficult, if not impossible time accounting for it. And so again, I just wish they'd be confident in what they've been saying for years, which is that there isn't a 24-hour sun. Let's go prove it.
Right, exactly. But then they would evoke multiple suns, wouldn't they? You know that?
Multiple suns doesn't work either. If there's multiple suns and they're both visible at the same time, then we will film that and maybe win some sort of an award for seeing two suns and being the first people in history to see two suns.
Oh, flat earthers have shown me photographs of two suns. I mean, it's not two suns, but to them it's good enough. You know, someone's shared it online.
Yeah, they're always behind a window, by the way, when they take those pictures. And the second sun, which is reflecting, is always right by it. The second thing we have to ask ourselves, too, is why would this second sun be doing a 360 over us at Union Glacier? What about people who are on the other side of the Earth in Antarctica? Because remember, their Antarctica is massive, way bigger than the globe. So there's a lot of problems that they would have to come up with, that they would have to solve. And I just don't think it's solvable.
No. Unless if they attempted to say that it's reflecting off of the dome if it's visible.
Reflection doesn't work either. So here's the problem with the reflection. In their model, the sun would have to go away from us in Antarctica and set. And in their model, setting is not behind a horizon. It's just getting really far away. So the sun in their model would have to go away from us, get smaller, and then somehow transition to a new sun that's a reflection. And then that reflection would now be a reverse image of the real sun, which means the sunspots will be reversed. And then it starts to go the opposite direction. And then it would somehow have to meet up with, again, a rising sun on the other side that would have to start small. This would be super easy to know if it's a reflection. So that's not going to work either.
Have you heard them say, because they've fired everything at me over the last couple of weeks since I've spoke on this. So there was only a clip out of a show about something else, by the way. Like I didn't even dedicate a show to this. It's like, these are the clips that people go crazy and want to argue about. But they were saying that the sun simulator.
Well, see, here's what I want them to do is I want them to show us what we can do to prove that what they're saying is right. So let's say NASA finds out about me and our trip, and they're like, okay, guys, we have to simulate a new sun in Antarctica. Okay, great. Well, what's going to happen to the real sun that they see out there every single day?
Oh, they stole the real sun during the eclipse. Did you not know?
Because even in the flat Earth model, Antarctica gets sunlight, during the southern summer. So number one, what happens to the real sun? And number two, how can we know that the sun is being simulated? What can we do? I'm asking flat earthers, and I don't think this is a big ask. I'm asking flat earthers to be problem solvers and not excuse makers. So if you see a potential issue, great. Let's tell me ahead of time how we can solve it. I'll make sure we have the right gear there to be able to say, okay, we know this is a simulated sun. We know it's not. Tell me how to solve the problem.
Yeah, exactly.
Making excuses.
Just throwing things out there, aren't they? But can you just clarify? Because as you've brought that up there, you've been asking people to keeping score and all that stuff you're doing, asking people to give you ideas of extra things you can do to make sure everybody stays honest and that no one can make excuses and no one can say, what about this? They weren't where they say they were. So what have you got lined up to make sure that so far, obviously there's going to be more ideas, but so far, what have you got to make sure that no one's can deny things?
Yeah, so we have 2 GPS units being donated by Wolfie 6020.
Right.
He's donating these so that we can track our entire trip to Chile, to the southern tip of South America, and then all the way to Antarctica so that they can't claim we're somewhere else. I don't know where else we would be, but that's okay. We have solar filters that we're going to be using to take pictures of the sun and to look at the sunspots to make sure it's the real sun and make sure it's the same sun that's being seen by other people in the world. We have we're going to be using a drone, taking a drone with us, which can help us record the movement of shadows. If there's a cloud that we need to deal with, we might be able to get around it or above it. If the sun happens to go behind a hill or a small mountain, we'd be able to deal with it with a drone that way. So those are some of the ideas that people have been putting forth, and they're fantastic ideas.
Yeah. Did I hear you say that if you fund Jaren and say Witsit, that you wouldn't be going then?
Yeah, that's right.
Why would you do that?
For the cause. To me, it's more important that people that are in this debate, that have been in this debate for a long time, it's more important that they go. I really am a nobody.
But how would you be convinced then? Because you've seen videos already that you're claiming that you believe. All right. So what would another video make difference to you? Like, surely you would want to see this to settle it, at least in your head, even if you're never going to get 100% consensus on this, no matter what happens. But for your own mind, so your curious mind, you would surely want to see it yourself, wouldn't you, Will? If I was paying all that money, I would not want to stay here and just rely on someone else to tell me. Trust me, bro.
I want nothing more than to go, but I don't have unlimited resources. And
I thought you'd won the lottery or something.
I'm way over budget as it is. I've had 2 people reach out to me asking if I'll crowdfund if Jaren and Austin both go, and I'm definitely open to that, but I'm not 100% sold on it yet. But here's the deal. Having both globe earthers and flat earthers there together, we are going to make part of the challenge to where if the sun sets, the globe earther is going to have to agree in writing ahead of time that if the flat earther wants to take them outside and do a 360 panoramic without a sun in the sky, the globe earther has to do that. And they have to do it in a video and essentially say, like, they'll ask Dave McKeegan, Dave, is the sun in the sky right now? And if it's not, he's going to have to say no. And if he lies and says yes, they would say, okay, we're filming right now. Please show us where it is, point to it, and he won't be able to do it. So we're going to be able to expose the truth no matter what. And if there's lies told, we'll be able to expose the lies. But this will be a lot more definitive than people think because of how much time I've put into thinking this through.
Yeah, you definitely have. Like, this is, someone needed to do something like this. I don't think it's going to make a huge difference to the idiots. And I'm not calling the flat earth proponents the idiots. I'm saying the ones that on both sides don't understand the argument at all, watched Eric Dubay once and formed their worldview on his 200 proofs. Those are the idiots that have never looked beyond that. And on the other side, the idiots are the people that are like, why don't you just fall off the end then? And they don't give it another thought after that. to see where it maybe would be viable. So those people will never change their mind. They'll say it's all fake because it's easy. It's just an easy way to still be the most intelligent person in the room. That's never going to happen to you under any other circumstances. But I think it would, what you're doing to the people that people know, if what you've just said there, say for instance, the sun, how would you do it? How would it work for Dave McKeegan then? Because what's he gonna? He can't pan around with them two standing there because the sun will always be there. What would he get?
Yeah. So the globe side has a harder burden of proof here, which is fine. I think that's good. And we're going to be setting up a lot of cameras. So there will be a ton of cameras filming. We'll have cameras filming cameras. And so it will be obvious with the footage that there was a 24-hour sun. And again, if the sun ever set, that's the flat earthers' golden opportunity to blow this thing wide open. And so what is the flat earther going to say? Oh, the sun's set, but I just decided not to take a picture of it. I decided not to ask Dave McKeegan to confirm it. Like, no, you're going there. You're looking for that opportunity. If it happens even for a second, you're going to take advantage of it.
Would that prove it? They've happened for a second. Like, how long how could that possibly happen? Like, obviously it would be inaccurate. But say if it dipped below the horizon half and then came straight back up again, what does that prove? Does that prove that the globe is still wrong?
No. So the sun would have to not be in the sky. Right. I'm not talking about being behind a cloud, and I'm not talking about being behind a mountain. Now, again, we've spent so much time on this. We've done modeling, and I just don't think any of that's going to happen. I believe it's going to not only stay above the horizon, but it's going to stay above the mountains that are there. And I'm not concerned about clouds either. Jaron was honest, and he's like, even clouds for, an hour or two are not that big of a deal. He suggested taking infrared cameras to be able to look through the clouds. So we're going to have a lot of stuff going on down there.
Mind you, have you seen that the Canary Islands at the moment, which is predominantly sunny this time of year all the time, have had about a week's worth of full black cloud. So there's no sun visible there. That's where you'd expect it. Before we finish up, I've got there's people with a few problems about this. Just run through these quickly. Obviously, this guy has said flat Earth will go on regardless of this experiment. And then another guy saying that what did he say? It was on YouTube. It's not an experiment. Does it matter to you what it's called?
So, okay, people that are saying it's not an experiment, I'm loving it because it immediately shows your true colors. We've already agreed ahead of me putting a name on something that one model has a 24-hour sun in the south and one model doesn't. And so the fact that you're taking issue with the name means you see the problem. Yeah. And so I just don't care.
And here's one I've heard you address, but so obviously these people don't. These people really should follow things before they comment, and because I'm sure you've answered this a million times. I've heard you answer it a couple of times. It says, I don't know if you know this, but you're not allowed to leave the tent from 10 p.m. to 8 a.m. You even have to have a piss jar because you're not allowed to go to the bathroom. Okay,
so we have permission to leave the tent from 10 p.m. to 8 a.m. We have explicit special permission to do that. So that's not an issue. And then, yes, if you are sleeping in your tent, you're not just going to get up and throw on all of the gear that you have to wear out there because of how cold it is and go walk to the bathrooms. And so they recommend bringing a jar to urinate in if you need to urinate in the middle of the night while you're sleeping.
How is because I was hearing Jaron speaking about, if I can go with someone, then they will do shifts and want to keep eyes on the sun at all times. How would that work for Dave McKeegan? He's going to have to sleep at some point, right? Like he can just, while he was asleep, they go set when you was asleep. You missed it.
Yeah. So in that situation, it's going to be good because if they, if the sun's up, Dave McKeegan's fine. He can just sleep right through it. But if the sun sets, that's really what they're looking for. So in that situation, having them do shifts is a brilliant idea. And it's really more for them than the other side. It's for the side that says something is going to disappear at some point in the sky.
This is the same guy, by the way. He says, also, I bet they're not going anywhere. I don't think this trip was ever going to happen in the first place. I bet you've heard that a lot as well.
Yes. And again, you guys, this is so silly. Just go yourselves, please. Somebody suggested that Dave Weiss should go ahead of us because Antarctic Logistics and Expeditions, who's taking us. They have trips before us and after us. Just go, please do it. It's great.
Sell one of your Bitcoin. Sell one of your Bitcoin, Dave, and fund your trip and get all your gear. Because you're so interested in the truth, Dave, right? You're so interested in the truth that surely no amount of money, if you've got that much money that you got free Bitcoin, no amount of money should stop you from learning the truth and spreading it. Sarcasm. This is the guy. Oh, yeah, this is the one about the experiment. This guy here. I live in Sydney, Australia. The sun is never, ever, 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 ever behind me when looking north. Take this video down. This is a joke. So he said to me. Right.
Well, I don't know where he lives. I don't know what the sun path is on their model based on where he lives, what latitude. But the reason we're going to
this is Australia. So that's a flat Earth model, like my one that I've done. And Australia is like literally there, according to them. It's like the biggest country in the entire universe. So wherever he is on that, I don't know. This is another guy, a Kai. And for some reason, he said this, base it on 13 months, not 12. What does he mean by that?
No idea.
Is he trying to suggest that it won't be at the right time because there's actually 13 months and there's a big conspiracy to cover it up? Possibly.
No, we're going when we believe there would be a 24-hour sun. And so there can never be a 24-hour sun on the flat Earth model. So at any time of year.
Here's another guy, Fredo, his name is. You don't understand. They can't get permits. This is all a scam. They will only get permits for the location just off of South America. LOL, you guys are so predictable.
Yeah, this is so frustrating. This is a flat Earth talking point. There's this peninsula in Antarctica that goes near the tip of South America. And so there are boats that will go to the tip of that peninsula. We're not even taking a boat. People are claiming that this is a booze cruise. They're not even listening. We are taking a plane. We are flying 4.5 hours south of the southern tip of South America in Chile to get deep into Antarctica. We're going to 80 degrees south and landing on an ice runway. So get with the times here.
That's what I mean. If you got people out there, if you're going to comment, at least know what you're talking about before you make pointless comments. I mean, half of them on TikTok especially, they watch about 4 seconds of the video, decide they don't agree with it, and fill the comment section up on like a 10-minute video. This is one of the guys, probably the same ground here. I don't care what the sun is doing in the sky. The Earth is still level and stationary. It's not an experiment. It's an observation.
Yeah, that's one we're getting a lot. And that one is sad to me. And there's nothing I can do about people who don't care about the truth. I care about the truth. I want to know what the sun is doing. In the flat Earth model, the sun does one thing. In the globe model, the sun does another. This is a true dichotomy here. This is not even a false dichotomy. Either there's a 24-hour sun or there's not, and we're going to go figure it out because it's true and because it's reality, and it actually is going to tell us a lot about our world. And so everybody should be interested in this, in my opinion.
They should. I totally agree. And thank you so much for coming on, Will. Someone needed to do this, I think, for this. I mean, do you expect this to end the debates? Do you think MC Toon's channel will go down, Jaron's channel will go down after this, and, there'll be no more modern day debate, flat Earth? I'm hopeful. I wish I was as optimistic as you, is what I'm trying to say.
I'm hopeful, but I have to be. I'm the one putting it together. And the channels don't necessarily, if this is successful, the channels don't necessarily need to go away. They could pivot to something else. We'll see.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Thanks for coming on, Will. Thanks for clarifying all that. Hopefully, to the people out there that listen to this that were interested in the final experiment, have been giving me feedback on it. Hopefully, that'll answer all of your questions. If you want to crowdfund anybody, I think that I'll put the link for Globey McGlobeface crowdfund it in my in the show notes. And then we can get 2 of each out there potentially. So that'd be good. All right. Thanks very much for coming on, Will. Cheers. And me and Lee will be back on Sunday with some sort of weird topic. I don't know what we're going to be doing on Sunday, but we'll be going out Sunday morning. Thank you, Will. The Final Experiment. Have you got a website? Is it thefinalexperiment.com or something like that?
It's thefinalexperiment.com with hyphens, the-final-experiment.com.
Right. Okay.
Check us out on YouTube. If you search The Final Experiment, we come right up. We release a lot of videos. And go ahead and subscribe and you'll get all the updates and you can follow along. It's going to be fun.
Yeah, go on YouTube. YouTube, we'll put quite a lot of updates up on there of what's going on. So it's interesting to keep checking every day to see what's happened next and who's refused to go, etc. All right, thank you, Will. And see you Sunday for the next Whatcast. See you later.
You have been listening to Whatcast. Follow and contact us on the Twitter, the Book of Face, and the Gram of Insta at Whatcast with a K.